Cbeebies, most of our childhoods. For this video, I'm going to be doing basically the same I did for the top 10 best CBBC shows list, but with Cbeebies shows. Number 10 is Teletubbies. Not the shitty modern version, obviously, the original. Now, I don't really need to explain why this is a good show, it's just very iconic setting, very iconic characters, there's quite funny stories, and each of them has their own sort of personality, and they're all, very sort of likable characters. But the reason it's so low is because there are two major flaws with this show. One of them being the magical event, like, well, the lion and the bear, which, as a child, that would scare the shit out of me. And the other flaw is when you get like children on their screens, they would just show children talking about their lives, which used to absolutely bore the shit out of me. But apart from those two flaws, very good show. Number 9 is Bob the Builder. Again, I should explain, it's not the modern version. Ooh, it's the classic version. And I just think every single character is, very interesting. And it's just, I think the stories are actually fairly creative. But just Bob himself is just, he's kind of an idiot, but he's, at the same time, he's just the hero. And I just think it's a very sort of a positive, happy show. And that's all I have to say about it, really. Number 8 is Come Outside. Now, I just feel that Auntie Mabel and Pippin are just an amazing duo. She just seems like the nicest person ever, like the great aunt or something that everyone wants. I just think it's a very interesting way of just explaining things to children. Like each individual episode is about a different theme, and it's the same kind of format for each episode, but they are able to keep it kind of fresh and interesting. Number 7 is the Tweenies. Now, some people say that this show is kind of annoying and cringy. Well, yeah, it is. But if you could kind of, put yourself into the mind of like, 4 or 5-year-old, then it is just a very enjoyable show. And, we all prayed that the Tweenie clock would land on our favourite section. I just feel like all 4 of the characters, even though, they're not likable all the time, they do have very good chemistry with each other. And even like, the dog and the grown-ups, they're all great characters as well. Number 6 is Storymakers, and I'd say this is definitely one of the coolest CBeebies shows. Well, first of all, it's set in a library at night, which sounds spooky, but it's not, so pretty cool setting. Milton Wordsworth, he carried this show. And, even Jelly and Jackson, they were, very iconic characters. And obviously, who can forget the story machine, the idea of putting an object into the machine and then creating a relevant story. I mean, the one I think all of us remember, Blue Cow, the Blue Cow stories. Number 5 is the Fimbles. First of all, great setting, and there's a lot of very iconic parts of the show, such as the Trundle Truck, the Crumble Crackers, and of course the Tinkling Tree. I think that's what it's called. Oh man, what a name, Tinkling Tree. Anyway, the Fimbles, they have good chemistry because there's like a comedic trio. They all look basically the same, but they've all got unique color schemes and personalities. And of course, Roly Mo, he is the most iconic character in the show. We were all kind of just anticipating when he would come on screen. Number 5 is Balamory. I just feel this really represents like village goals. Like this is what like a community should be like. When obviously I don't think most people will be able to relate to it. Whereas each character has their own sort of individual like song and job. My favourite is probably Archie the inventor. It's just a very sort of a colourful, fun show. And even though you might expect it to be boring, but I mean, some of the episodes were like, proper intense, sort of mysterious plot lines. Number three is Numberjacks. I mean, what a show! Well, one of the main things, the fact that it was partly like animated and partly real life. And I mean, let's be honest, we were all scared shitless of the freaking number taker. There's like all the numbers, they all have their own individual personalities. And the format of each episode is pretty much the same. But like each story is always fascinating, and how they always solve it in a slightly different way using the brain game. I mean, yeah, three is probably you know my least favorite of all the Numberjacks, but all of the rest of them are just brilliant. I mean, I love all the villains, and all the songs of the villains are also very iconic, including the Problem Blob, Shape Japer, the Puzzler, Spooky Spoon, and the Number Taker. Boom! I mean, it was just like a very cool kind of mission-like show. I think one of the best parts of the show was when they chose what number was going to go out to do the mission next, and the kind of launching sequence. Number two is Big Cook, Little Cook. I mean, what an iconic duo. Although, ironically, in real life, the actor who plays Little Cook is actually taller than the actor who plays Big Cook. Isn't that funny? But anyway, the show has a lot of very iconic songs, and it's just always very enjoyable to watch. I mean, I didn't actually ever make any of the things that they showed how to make. Main reason I was four, I couldn't cook, but I just felt that it was always very interesting just to see the individual character and what they made for the character. It was always something fairly tasty looking, but it will always like fit in with the theme. And well, who can forget the iconic moments when Little Cook rode on his wooden spoon, and to see how something was made. Before I get to number one, here are 5 honourable mentions: Brum, Smartinis, 64 Zoo Lane, Tommy Zoom, Mr. Maker. And the number one best Cbeebies show is Pingu. Oh, I just love how the show, there is no talking in it, but yet you understand everything that's going on, and we all have a bit of Pingu in us. Not in that way, but anyway, just we're all relate. He's relatable in every way. It's not obvious how old he is, but like even as a teenager and even an adult, Pingu is just so relatable. We've all done the stuff that he's done. Well, not literally, but I just love the way and the aesthetics of it, of how the stop motion animation I love, and I just like each individual story is just memorable. From the one when he goes to this sort of bar and drinks lots of coloured liquid and then pisses himself, to the one when he runs away, to the one when his sister gets born, to the one when he gets trapped in the cave. I mean, the list just goes on. There are just so many amazing episodes of Pingu, and who could get the iconic "not not"? I think that was a good impression. Never mind. But just all of those reasons combined are why, in my opinion, Pingu is the number one best Cbeebies show. And that's it. Bye bye.